Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to head back to Romania once again, and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel quite a few times before. Now, these guys are still a relatively new addition to the European beer scene, but they've built up a very good reputation for themselves, and they are one of Romania's really pioneering breweries. If people were to ask me about these guys, I would say that they are very solid all round. They do a lot of different styles, and pretty much with this brewery you can pick a style that you enjoy and you will get a very nice example of it. So the beer that we're going to have a look at today is one of their latest releases here in Hong Kong. It's a style that I've had from this brewery quite a few times before, and one that I know they can do very well. So needless to say, I'm very curious to see what this beer is going to have in store for us. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always, I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, like I said, we are going to head back to Romania. We're going to go to a little bit to the south of Bucharest, the capital, to a wee place called Jilava, and that means that we're going to have a look at another beer from the wonderful Hop Hooligans. So this particular beer is called Age of Exploration. It comes in at 8% ABV, and this is another New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So yeah, this one I believe was released here in Hong Kong at the kind of in the middle of April 2025, and I think I got the triple IPA, which was the vanilla infused one, from the same import batch as this. But a lot of people told me this one was really good. It's got New Zealand hops in it, and that got me very curious, to be honest with you. It's been a wee while, I think, since I've had a New Zealand hopped hazy IPA from Hop Hooligans. I did have a very good one a year or two ago, if I remember correctly. But I love this brewery, and these guys along with Beretta are the ones you really need to check out if you're interested in Romanian craft beer. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see what it's going to have in store for us. So, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Hop Hooligans Brewery before, and we will no doubt add more to that list at some point in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer using the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area that you search for, they will pop up. Failing that though, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Romanian playlist along with a number of other things. That's being added to quite regularly, of course, because we do get quite a few Romanian beers here in Hong Kong, mostly from Hop Hooligans. I would like to see some other breweries make it here as well, but do make sure you check out the playlist of beers from other countries as well, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days, even if I do say so myself. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Hop Hooligans then. So, Hop Hooligans, as I mentioned to you a minute ago, are based in Jilava, which is to the south of Bucharest, the Romanian capital city, and the company has been active since 2016, and the two main men behind it are Cristian Miniadinu and Mircea Georgescu. So, the story of Hop Hooligans began when Cristi and Mircea teamed up with Petre Ion, who was the founder of Beer O'Clock, which was one of the first craft beer bars in all of Romania. But about a year after the launch of the brewery, Petre sadly died in a car accident in April of 2017, and after this, times proved to be really quite hard for the company, but thankfully they managed to persevere, and they've gone on to have quite a little bit of success. So they built a reputation for themselves early on by doing a lot of different beer styles and doing a lot of collaborations with other breweries across the European continent, and then in 2018 they started canning their beers, and so they became the first brewery in Romania to do so. And the following year they partnered up with Beretta, who I do recommend that you check out, and they collaborated to organise Haze Fest, which was the very first Romanian craft beer festival. I've heard it's very good. It's still going on to this day, like yearly, so someplace I do want to go and check out. But in September of 2020 they opened up their own tap room in Bucharest, and they've been working to increase the capacity of the brewery over the last few years, and they've also been distributing their beers across the world as well, hence why we have them here in Hong Kong. But as of May 2025, when I'm filming this review, review for you. These guys have produced around 460 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and that number will no doubt continue to increase as time goes on. But yeah, that is everything I can really tell you about Hop Hooligans Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a wee bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the history section of this video. So I'll let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one before we open up, and you can see it is quite similar to what we've seen from Hop Hooligans in the past. Plain silver top on this can, incidentally, and it's worth pointing out that this one is a ½ litre, but it tells you on the side here, hold up, you won't be needing any boat or train tickets for this next trip that we've got planned for you. Maps are useless too, binoculars just make you look goofy, and nobody's going to be looking at what you've got wearing on your feet. You'll just be needing some well-rested taste buds, otherwise we've got you covered with the rest. We've been doing the heavy trekking for you for quite a while now. Snacks will come in handy though, good one. So yeah, I didn't read that with very nice intonation, I have to say, but still. Yeah, anyway, nicely presented can this, I'll just like have a wee quick look at that. One of the things that I always love about Hop Hooligans though is they tell you a wee bit about the beer on the side here. It tells you about the malt base and the hops and things like that. So the malt base for this one has extra pale, flaked oats, golden naked oats and wheat malt in it, but the hops in this one are a mix of New Zealand and Australia. So yeah, Riwaka, from what I remember, is about 5% alpha acid, and it gives you quite a bit of a kind of grapefruity and florally spicy note. Wakatu is, I think, about 6 or 7% alpha acid, and it's quite limey. Both of those two from New Zealand, of course, and then Galaxy is from Australia. Galaxy is usually about 14% alpha acid, quite a lot of pineapple from what I remember, but also a lot of big juicy kind of mangoes and things like that. But it uses London Ale Yeast number 3, and as we said earlier, this one is an 8% New England double IPA. Don't think there's anything else we really need to say about the technicalities of the beer and stuff like that, but we can get it out into the glass and see what it's all about. Let's do that. I actually can't remember which shop I bought this one at. I think it might have been Angry Beer in Moncock, who at the time of filming are just about to shift to 2 other locations actually. So yeah, let's see. So there we are. I have to say, this one looks really pretty damn nice actually. Pour on that was lovely. So we've got maybe about 80% of the beer out and into the glass, I would say. But yeah, the pour on that is pretty damn special. So yeah, just before the head disappears then, we can see that this beer poured with about a ½ finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head. It's fading away to be a kind of thinner, more foamy layer though, and a kind of ring around the edge of the glass, but you can see the bubbles on this one are pretty damn kind of soapy. You can see medium-sized bubbles on the surface of the liquid there and a few soapier ones further up, but the colour of this one, I have to say, I really quite like. Very kind of pale, but quite bright yellow. It's kind of somewhere between being like a pineapple juice and a sort of mango juice colour. I always like comparing the appearance of New England IPAs to different fruit juices, because that really is just what they remind me of. But yeah, I like that. Remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker coloured beer. Any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer as well will affect its colour, but when it comes to the IPA style category, very rare that you have to care about those latter 2 variables. But yeah, with this one too, I would also add, this is pretty damn soupy and gloopy for an 8%er. It's got a hell of a lot of opacity to it. And remember, the haziness in these beers depends on oat content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. This one had, yeah, flaked oats, golden naked oats, and wheat malt. You know, oats are the ones that are really going to give you a lot of the haziness. Wheat to an extent as well. But yeah, that's one of the trademarks of the New England IPA style, is a lot of oat and a lot of wheat malt, whereas, you know, in addition to barley malt, whereas the West Coast IPA is for the most part barley malt. But yeah, not much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. It looks like a lovely beer, I have to say. So yeah, let's go on and have a little look at the aroma of this one. That's what's getting me quite curious actually. The appearance of this one makes it look very, very appealing. So yeah, aroma time, let's do it. Oh yeah, I think this is going to be good. I'll say that straight away. This beer, it just, the first hint of the aroma, it just comes across as being really, really nicely balanced, if we can say that. Yeah, just a really lovely, attractive aroma. I really have to just point that out straight away. You've got everything you'd want from the style. You've got a lovely kind of fresh but kind of creamy and slightly sweet backbone. You've got a nice big bright green component and lots of kind of juicy fruity notes with just that wee bit of pungent citrus coming out of it as well. Yeah, I'm just going to say thumbs up to Hop Hooligans for this one. This beer is, people in the WhatsApp group here in Hong Kong, the beer WhatsApp group, were saying that this one was the best of the latest Hop Hooligans batch, and I'll just say on the aroma straight away, it has got me curious. The last one I had, the vanilla triple IPA, it was interesting, but it wasn't the best. It's not the best beer I've had from Hop Hooligans. We can safely say that. But yeah, this one, when it goes back to kind of more conventional things, if you like, I think is going to be very, very good. But yeah, let's just break that aroma down then. So the backbone of this beer, you've got a lovely little bit of kind of fresh white bready bread crust in there. That's your backbone. You absolutely get little hints of like wood and cracker and stuff like this. Mostly cracker, I would say. I think wood not so much in this case. But yeah, fresh white bready bread crust, little bit of cracker. You can smell a little hint of like a kind of wholemeal brown bready note, but mostly it is a kind of big, fluffy, fresh white bready barley malt note that's coming out of this. If you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, you get a wee bit of that kind of wheaty bitiness at the back of the nose and a more dense wheaty white bready character there. It's got a little bit of a zip to it. But yeah, on top of that, you have you've got a lovely kind of oaty creaminess as well, and the oaty character in this beer is very, very nice actually. I think the oats kind of dominate this one a little bit, to be honest with you. So yeah, lovely oaty creamy notes in there. This beer is pretty fresh. It says, I think, does it say when it was canned actually? No, it just has a best before, which is the 4th. Yeah, that's going to be the 1st of April 2026. So I'm guessing this one was canned in early April. So we're drinking this one at just about a month old actually at the time of filming. So that'll be why. I think this one might well be in its prime. But yeah, the oaty character in this one is lovely. Lovely smooth, creamy oaty notes out of it. A little bit of dryness in there. And remember, for me, the oaty character in these New England IPAs can often be a very rough indicator of how fresh your New England IPA is. Basically the creamier the oats smell and taste, the fresher the beer is, the drier they are, the older it is, generally speaking. But within this one, you do get a lovely little bit of like Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch as well. There's just that little bit of sweetness which you would expect when it's a slightly higher ABV in New England. So getting a wee bit of that in there. But yeah, one thing I would say about these hazy IPAs too is that for me, the malty and yeasty side of the beer can lean 6 ways, or it can have 6 elements to it. You've got the kind of farmhousey yeasty character and the rye leaning grainy side of things. Those 2 elements are a bit more common in the New England brewed New England IPAs, because this style did of course start off as a farmhouse IPA, but as the style has gone to other places and evolved, the focus is more on barley malt bread, wheaty bitiness, oaty creaminess, and also the sweeter side of things. So this one is more oaty leaning, but the wheat and the barley malt are quite present in it. We can certainly say that, but quite an oaty leaning New England IPA would be my take on this one. But the yeasty side of this beer, at the back of the nose, it's got a lovely little bit of it's got a lovely little bit of like kind of brown bready yeasty character for sure. So yeah, there's that lovely little bit of brown bready note to it, but like a kind of slightly drier white bready note and a wee bit of bread crust, I would say. Those are the main elements I'm getting out of the yeasty side of the beer. But yeah, when you take the aroma in more deeply and you're focusing on that malty and yeasty side of things, the oats that really stand out of this one, I would say that the malty backbone of this beer is really pretty damn attractive, I have to say. Yeah, so let's go on to the hoppy side of things then. So as I've explained in many a New England IPA review before, there are 3 types of hoppings that you can do with these beers. You have early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That is responsible for the majority of your bitterness. and it gives you a very deep dank green component. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place within the latter half hour of your wort ball. That gives you a little bit of bitterness, but mainly flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component. Then you've got dry hopping, which takes place after the wort ball is complete. That's all about flavour and aroma, and again it gives you a very bright green component. West Coast IPAs tend to use all three, which is why they're deeper, danker and more oily. New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're softer and more juicy, and that is most certainly the case in this one. So you do get a tiny little bit of earthiness out of this one, but very, very minimal. Maybe a little bit of herbal character, but there is a lot of big floral aromaticity coming out of this beer. So yeah, lovely big floral aromaticity to it. Lovely little bit of grassy zestiness as well. So yeah, the green component in this one is really, really very, very nice. Yeah, green component I like. So it's not too pungent, but has a little bit of oiliness to it as well. I wonder, maybe did they use a bit of Galaxy Cryo? But I think they would have said that on the can, knowing Hop Hooligans. I think this is all pellets, this beer, in all honesty, just because of the way the green component comes out. But yeah, it's nice stuff. Anyway, in terms of the fruity side of this beer then. So, for me, I get a little bit of like a slightly peachy sharpness out of it, but it's kind of minimal. Big juicy mango qualities to it. Passion fruit, apricot, quite a bit of pineapple. For me, that kind of mix of mango and pineapple is the signature of Galaxy. Oh, a little fruit fly or something. So yeah, that little bit of pineapple and juicy mango is the kind of signature of Galaxy for sure. But beyond that, yeah, I'm getting a little bit, you can smell there's a wee touch of that kind of pungent grapefruity sort of note coming out, and that one will be from the Riwaka. Riwaka, I remember, has this kind of quite spicy floral note. It's not too spicy, the green component. This one I would say, yeah, there's a little touch of grapefruit there, and yeah, you have got this lovely big kind of lime note out of it, I would say. So yeah, the way that this beer goes together, I think, is really nice in that sense. A little bit of lime, lots of big juicy mango, pineapple, apricot and stuff like that. I think the way it kind of pieces together is really, really nice. So that gets a big thumbs up from me too. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think this one is going to be pretty damn nice. So yeah, this is the Age of Exploration, an 8% New England Hazy Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA. Galaxy from Australia, Riwaka, and what was the other one called again? Wakatu from New Zealand. I think this is going to be pretty damn good. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that's pretty damn good, I will say that. Big thumbs up to Hop Hooligans. It's just got a really nice balance to it. Lovely big oaty kind of creamy notes. Yeah, lovely big oaty creamy notes. Good little bit of floral aromaticity, wee bit of spiciness and things. And then, yeah, some nice juicy fruity notes. But yeah, this yeah, it is a big like oaty, creamy, just soft and juicy New England double IPA. This one, this is absolutely worth trying if you come across it. And like I say, I think this one is pretty much in its prime, like a month in the can. This is when you get between a month and 6 weeks, I think, with these New England IPAs. Is always a very good period of time, I would say. So yeah, I like what this beer is doing. Yeah. Anyway, first impression of it is it's got a little bit more wheaty presence to it as well. The green component's got a nice little bit of bite. You're starting to get the more kind of spicy floral notes from the Riwaka in this one. Riwaka, yeah, gives you that kind of nice floral aromatic spice, that's really present here. I think Wakatu can give you a bit of that too. So yeah, you've got a nice kind of slightly more punchy green component to this beer, but yeah, a little bit more wheaty leaning than the aroma would have you believe. But yeah, the oatiness and the kind of soft, fruity, juicy character is lovely in this. So yeah, let's just break this one down then and describe it for you more in depth, as we always do. So we'll start in the middle third of the palate then. Yeah, so middle third of your palate then, you can feel that lovely, fresh, white bready, you can feel, yeah, that lovely kind of fresh, white bready backbone in there. As you move further forward on the palate, you do get that little bit of a more kind of woody character to the beer. So yeah, lovely fresh white bready bread crust in there, wee touch of woody character. There's a kind of Jacob's cream crackery note above that, and then yeah, so yeah, Jacob's cream crackery sort of note. Wholemeal brown bready character, fluffier white bready character sitting on top of that, and I think you do get a little touch of greeniness out of this one into the aftertaste, so definitely that is there. Above the kind of fluffy white bready barley malt, you have a nice, yeah, you have a really nice kind of wheaty bitiness to this one too. So you can feel that more dense, wheaty white bready character in there. And as I've often said, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But yeah, it has that, yeah, it has that more kind of wheaty, yeah, you get more of that wheaty, bitey character further back on the palate for sure. So yeah, wheaty bitiness further back on the palate, and that lingers there too. But yeah, definitely down the middle line of your tongue, you get the nice creamy oaty character. And just as you spread out toward the edges of the tongue, it's a little bit more, yeah, it shows you a little bit more of a kind of, shows you the kind of drier side of the oats as well. So yeah, lovely creamy oats down the middle of your palate, then the kind of drier side of the oats a wee bit further out there. And then yeah, into the dead centre of the palate, you get a wee touch of kind of sweetness in there. So in the middle of your palate, you get that little circle there where you've got the wee bit of kind of Werther's Original butter candy butterscotch, and it's surrounded by a wee bit of biscuit, which I think is great. But yeah, it's the oaty side of things, and shows you a wee bit more dry character in the flavour than I was expecting from the aroma as well. But yeah, really is kind of an oaty leaning beer, this one, in the early part of the flavour, but it gets a little bit more wheaty the further into the aftertaste that you go as well. So yeah, that middle third of your palate in this one is really quite nice. Yeah, I like how that kind of pieces together in this one. That's the middle third of your palate. Let's go to the back third of your palate then. As I've often said, the middle third and back third of your palates are going to give you very similar flavours, just at different intensities, and that's certainly the case here. So the border region between middle and back third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the wee bit of brown bread in the base, the white bread sitting on top of that, then the more dense wheaty bitey bread sitting on top of that. But yeah, the base of that back third of your palate, yeah, the base of that back third of your palate, you have a little bit more of a, you can feel the kind of bread crusty notes there, which feel a little bit drier, of course. Then you've got the kind of crackery character sitting above that. Then yeah, you've got a layer of like lighter, more airy and fluffy wholemeal brown bread. Above that, you've got a more fluffy, yeah, you've got that the kind of white bready layer which sits above that, which is a little bit lighter, drier and more airy as well. You can feel the wheaty bready character just creeping over the top of that. It's definitely more bitey on that back third of your palate. And then yeah, you've got the more kind of oaty, creamy side of the beer just creeping over the top of that as well. And it's a bit drier, as I say, you get more dryness out of the oats on that back third of your palate for sure as well. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, so for me, the yeasty side of this beer, that of course sits on top of the back third of your palate. You can feel it at its core. It's got a more dense kind of brown bready character to it, and then it's surrounded a little bit by more of a, it's surrounded by a little bit more of a kind of homey, dense brown bread at its core. Then it's surrounded by like a slightly drier white bread and more kind of bread crusty character, and the yeasty side of this one does linger into the aftertaste. There's wee bits of cracker in there too, but definitely, back third of your palate you can feel the flavour is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So yeah, the way that everything pieces together on the malty and yeasty side, with the malty and yeasty side of this beer, is really pretty damn nice. So it's a big thumbs up from me. So in terms of the hoppy side of things, then let's look at that green component. Back corners of the palate, you have a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, there's a wee bit of that pine resiny note, which I think is going to come from the Riwaka. The Riwaka can give you that little, I think maybe Wakatu's the one that's going to give you the pine resin. But yeah, as you come further forward, you get more of the floral aromatic spice, which I think is going to be the Riwaka actually. So yeah, the Wakatu is giving you the kind of pine resiny notes, I think, and the floral spice is coming from the Riwaka. So you get that on the front corners of your palate, but round the front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. So green component on this one does have a fair little bit of kind of punch to it, which I do quite like as well. But yeah, I don't think we need to say too much more about that. It's a slightly more bitter New England IPA in that regard too, but as I say, I like it. So let's go to the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of things. So yeah, border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get that nice little bit of kind of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base, the white bread in the middle, then the more dense and bitey wheaty white bread on top. The base of that front third of your palate is the kind of the brown bready bread crust, the more the white bready bread crust, I would say, the cracker, the brown bread, the white bread, the more dense wheat and the more kind of dense oaty characters coming out of it. And then on top of that you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So the way that goes together, I think, is pretty damn nice. So, fruity side of the beer. Yeah, I mean, at the back of that front third of your palate, you get that little bit of grapefruit, which I think is going to come from, most likely, I think, from the Riwaka. Yeah, you get that little bit of kind of grapefruity character from it. But as you move further forward, I think that the Galaxy will contribute to that a wee bit as well. But yeah, you've got that lovely big juicy ripe mango-y kind of character there. As you reach the middle of that front third of your palate, it's kind of apricot-y, and there's a lot of juicy pineapple sitting in there to the aftertaste as well. But the apricot-y notes spread, they come forward quite a little bit. And then as you reach the kind of front tip of the tongue, you get a wee bit of a more kind of sort of limey note, which I think is going to be the Wakatu in this case. I remember Wakatu being pretty limey, in all honesty, but a wee bit of a lemony, kind of a lemony limey character there as well. You're getting that mixing with the grassy esters just on the front tip of your tongue. So yeah, these are the two. The Wakatu's a hop I haven't had in quite some time. I've had Riwaka fairly recently, and floral spice and kind of grapefruit was what I really remember about that one. It was, they always talked about Riwaka being kind of like a German Satz, a sort of Czech Satz descendant, if I remember right, which is why it's quite spicy. But that's really obvious in this one. But Wakatu I've not had in a while, but that lemony, limey, citrusy note at the front tip of the tongue is really interesting with this beer. We can safely say that. So I think that says everything we really, that's everything we really need to say about the flavour of this beer. In all honesty, I really like how it kind of pieces together. But let's round off the review then with a wee quick look at the mouthfeel. So for me, this beer, I would say this one's top end of mid-bodied, bottom end of full-bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth as well. The beer does have a wee bit of dryness into the aftertaste, in fairness. There's a good little bit of IBU to this, maybe 40 or 50 IBUs. You get a bit of the pine resin and a bit of the kind of floral aromatic spice out of it. But yeah, the backbone of the beer, lovely. Yeah, as I say, we've got that kind of drier side underneath, the smoother, more bready side in the middle, and a wee bit of the kind of creaminess and slightly sweeter character on top of it. But the wheaty bitiness pushes its way out of this one too and gives you the impression of a slightly higher bitterness. And then yeah, you've got a lovely little bit of juicy tropical fruit in this one, but the citrusy side of the beer kind of prevails into the aftertaste too. But yeah, all in all, a really interesting one this, and I can see why quite a few people in the Hong Kong beer group really enjoyed this one. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for this review. I've really enjoyed this, and I look forward to the next batch of Hop Hooligans that we get. I've still got an Imperial Stout to try from these guys as well, if memory serves me correctly, from one of the last imports that they did. So yeah, I think we can leave it there. This one was called Age of Exploration, an 8% New England Hazy, Imperial Double, whatever you want to call it, IPA from Hop Hooligans in Jilava, near Bucharest in Romania. Really interesting beer, this one. Quite an oaty leaning New England Double IPA with a little bit more bitterness and bite to it. Absolutely worth checking out. But yeah, till the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Hop Hooligans as well, and hopefully we can return to these guys again at some point very, very soon. Until the next time, check out my social media, check out their social media, and I'll see you guys in another review very, very shortly. Ciao just now.